Hi guys. Happy Saturday, right? Yes. Alright, so day 24. Lots better. It's getting better. So, last night does anybody remember on here, when I contacted the witch, and she gave her name, from this area? It was very long ago, probably years ago, 3. So anyways, and I spoke to her through the Ouija. Well, last night I just decided to do a little investigating, so I typed in my town, my city, and included witch trials. Okay? This is very strange. Now when I did those sessions, the image of the woman, which I will show, it will be the thumbnail for this video. Pretty weird. It was pretty cool to see. So I looked her up and boom, found her. So her name was Irene Ray, and she was an alleged witch of a certain city in my state, not far. So lots of really cool stuff. Indiana town bans witch must leave certain town to ally citizens witchcraft fears. I didn't know it was around this area, so just briefly, it shows in the spring of 1692, a small village in Salem, or in Massachusetts, was swept with hysteria that started after a group of young girls accused of several women of practicing witchcraft and forging pacts with the devil. That hysteria, of course, was led to the infamous Salem witch trials. So, and in the following months, approximately 150 people would face witchcraft accusations. Over 20 of those would be found guilty, and they were put to the gallows. So we all know that. Now, 246 years later, newspapers across the country would come again, run headlines including words like witch, hex, and spells, and yet another woman's life would be ruined due to false accusations of witchcraft. Weird. Very weird. So, alright, on May 11th, 1938, Irene Ray and her husband Charles were they were taken from their town of Blah, Indiana, due to allegations that Irene was a practitioner of witchcraft and had hexed several townfolk. It was alleged that her hexes had caused personal property damage, serious illness, and even death. So Irene and Charles had moved to the town 6 years prior to this unfortunate episode, along with their daughter and their cat. And the cat, a strange fact that many of the newspaper stories were sure to include. So, what would have happened to the intervening years that would cause the townspeople to call for her removal? That's weird. That's pretty interesting. It's really interesting how it just spread, the witchcraft trials. So, it's pretty cool. It is really interesting. So, it also says, when the Ray family moved to blank, Indiana, they settled in a shack on the outskirts of town. Kind of familiar with that, outskirts of town, being in the outskirts of town myself. One article in the blah 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 Tribune even claims that the couple were forced from the nearby town. of my town, Indiana, before finding themselves in rather dire circumstances in another town. Soon they applied for and were given relief or welfare support. So they were placed in a house on, I don't know what that, Audubon Street, where their neighbors soon came to resent them. They were seen as outsiders who were living off the tax money of the citizens of blank, who, although themselves poor, did not apply for relief. So it's pretty cool. It's really interesting to see the history of this, just what this is doing. So I will definitely be posting these images. I did last night on my public page. Pretty interesting stuff. So it may be that Irene herself started the rumors of witchcraft as a way to scare people away from her, relieving the family from taunts and other attacks. So no matter how the rumors started, though, soon they spread like wildfire. At first the townsfolk, they merely murmured about the witch, but after the sudden illness of Georgia Knight Conrad, those murmurs became shouts. So Irene had been trying to purchase some antiques from Georgia, and had made several visits to her house to pressure the 24-year-old into selling them. And on one of these visits, it is said that Irene slipped into Georgia's bedroom and plucked some hairs from her brush. When leaving, Irene pronounced, "You'll be sorry soon." So that evening, Georgia fell into a faint and was soon diagnosed as having a leaking heart valve. It wasn't long before the family connected the dots. It's pretty crazy. So, another alleged victim of Mrs. Ray was Chief of Police Clay Sheets. So, after the chief oversaw the removal of Irene's granddaughter from her home due to charges against the morals of the household, newspapers reported that, dancing with rage, Irene screamed, "You are just a tool of that night, woman, and you will be sorry too." A few days later, Chief Sheets died of what appeared to be a heart attack. Pretty interesting for this little town to have this. It's pretty interesting, and I'm sure she might be alive. I'm not sure. So, in addition to human hearts, she was accused of hexing man's crops. Mrs. Ray made a habit of taking shortcuts through a field owned by Mr. Friday Castle, who didn't appreciate the alleged witch trespassing on his property. So when he confronted her, she ran her eyes back and forth and over the patch until they had covered every inch of it. Then she said, "It won't make a difference now when anybody walks on it or not, according to Castle. No potatoes sprouted that spring." Hysteria, but still pretty interesting. So, other accusations included Mrs. Ray, including insomnia, nervous indigestion, fires, floods, and more. The alleged methods of hexing ranged from using voodoo dolls to taking hairs of the victim, intertwining them with hairs from her cat, placing them in vinegar, and burying them. So it was also said that she consulted a more powerful witch from Plymouth when the hex she wanted to perform was above her ability. This consultant, who would chew a dime into somewhat the shape of a nail to drive into a dead tree by blows of the horny heels of his palm, the victim would surely drop dead as soon as the magician had time to say 3 times, "Blackjack of Barakat, hominy domini corpse." So, this is crazy. It's got her handwriting. It's got everything. So the allegations against Irene Ray mounted, and police were increasingly pressured to charge her with witchcraft. I wonder if we still have a witchcraft act. Doubtful. So, So fortunately, unlike Salem, Massachusetts in 1692, Indiana had no laws against witchcraft. The state did have vagrancy laws, in essence making it illegal to be homeless, which is still in effect. So Irene was charged with vagrancy and arrested, only to be released when she promised the new chief of police that she and her family would leave town. Pretty cool. So although Irene denied the accusations against her, saying that the whole thing is wrong, I can't do anything like that, she and her husband Charles moved from the town and settled near something like the story of a witch being driven from town spread across the country and appeared in newspaper headlines from California to New York. So most were skeptical of the allegations and cast the whole affair in a grim light. So in many of the articles it is mentioned that Irene was of American Indian descent, although Irene admitted that even she wasn't sure if it was accurate. So the conclusion of this fact, along with that of her alleged consultant with African American, suggests that the incident was much about races as it was about the financial situation and family. So, woman accused of witchcraft fatally hurt. So she was 60 when she had passed. So just 6 months later, Irene was hit by a car and died from the injuries. The accusations of witchcraft would outlive the alleged witch. So in every article about the incident, her death takes a backseat to the story of her being forced out of blank as a witch. Later, when her daughter petitioned to have her stepfather declared of unsound mind, he had a sustained head injury in the accident. The headline focused on the fact that he was the widower of blank town's noted witch woman. So it is safe to say now that Irene Ray was no witch, but rather a woman whose neighbors' dislike and resentment ran so deep that they convinced themselves that she was at the root of their problems. How incredible. Seriously, how incredible is that? I had no clue about this woman. So, there's so much stuff on here. Oops, if I can actually get my... Shoot. I want to show you guys how to get... I can't bring down my brightness. So, interesting. Very, very interesting, I thought. So, we had somewhat of a witch in this town. Now I wonder, I don't remember what that witch gave me when I talked to her on the board. I don't remember her name. I don't remember what she said. But I do remember that she did speak of rumors being spread about her and that it would be found in the paper. So I have no idea why I did that, why I looked that up, but I thought it was pretty neat, especially for a little town like this, for something to happen like that. So she's obviously, she's gone. It's incredible. I wonder if I can get it up on my page here and show you guys through screen share. I will try this really quick. Wow, that just got really bright. So I will try to get this on screen share. I thought it was just incredibly empowering. Where's my history? There we go. It was just incredibly okay, I don't know where it went, but shoot. It just really needs to have that. Well, not, the accusations, because I know what that's like. But it's still so awesome. So awesome. So, let me bring up that article for you guys so I can screen share the images. So, I mean, she looked very cool. I mean, she just looked very elegant. 1938. And that was the board that I was given. It was a 1938 Ouija. This board, behind Jesse's board that's on the wall, that came from the town that this alleged witch lived in. I did not know that she lived in my town. Very neat. Very neat when you have time to learn your history. I didn't know that about my own town. So let me see if I can actually... I've never done screen share, but I will find out here in just a second if it'll let me. It's cool. It's really cool. Well, not for her, but for us, as real, actual, modern day witches. Alright, I have that pulled up, so we'll see if I can screen share this with you guys. I don't know how to do that. Okay. Let's see, I'm recording. Now let's see where my screen share is. Let's do screen. I'm gonna switch over to my screen really quick. Oops. If you continue, your recording won't be stopped. Are you sure you want to switch to screen capture mode? Cancel. Let me try this. No, I don't want to try that. Alright, let me try this, guys. I will be hopefully right back.